With only 8 games left in the season, the Kings are 1 win away from clinching a playoff spot for the first time in 17 long years. The Kings have been one of, if not the greatest stories to follow this season in my opinion. From people making fun of them last year for trading Haliburton for Sabonis or drafting Keegan Murray over Ivy, the Kings front office honestly knew what they were doing more than anyone else and have been able to build a really good roster around their 2 stars of Fox and Sabonis. Yet, from what I've heard and seen in podcasts, on talk shows, and just in general social media kind of discourse around the league, a lot of people are completely writing this team off come playoff time. I think as a cute kind of first round exit, that's a good story, but it really has no chance of making any noise, and it's just going to get to the first round and lose to one of these more established teams that are a lower seed like the Warriors or the Clippers. And while I can see why people think that, I honestly think people are going to be really surprised by this team come playoff time, and I can see a world where they make it to the second round, which would blow my preseason expectations of them out of the waters. First, let's talk about why I think people view them as a first round exit. Biggest and most obvious reason is they don't defend well. They're the 25th worst defense in the league, only ahead of the Indiana Pacers and the other tanking teams. And that is a big problem, especially come playoff time when teams have more and more time to game plan for your offense as well as game plan for your weakness on defense and really focus in on your weakest defenders and take advantage of those mismatches. They're also a very unproven team come playoff time outside of Harrison Barnes, who has a lot of experience play alongside the Warriors and other teams. And while I think the duo of De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis is arguably a top 15 duo in this league, on the kind of on the lower end of that list, they pretty much have zero playoff experience as the guy. Domantas Sabonis has a little bit of playoff experience with the Pacers and I guess the Thunder if you want to count that, but that was way before he became the player that he is now, so I don't really count that. And when you kind of look at all of these points, as well as De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis kind of being closer to top 20, top 25 players and not top 10 players, I totally understand why people are hesitant to say that they can win the first round, especially against one of these more established teams that are going to be one of the lowest, like the Clippers or like the Warriors. But I think for a lot of reasons, they have a clear path to winning, and I can really see them being able to win a series against one of these more established teams out west. First, one of the biggest reasons why I have a lot of faith in the Kings come playoff time is that they've been able to win on the road, something that's been really difficult to do in the league this year. Only 8 teams in the entire league have a winning record on the road, and only 3 Western Conference teams do. The other 2 being the Nuggets and the Clippers, who are a lot of people's favorites to make it out of the West, or at least make it to the Western Conference Finals. They're also the only team in the Western Conference that has a positive net rating on the road, and one of 6 teams in the entire league to have that. I think both of those are great indications of, one, this team's confidence in themselves and ability to go into other people's kind of arenas and still play their style of basketball and not get flushed by the moment and not get kind of worried about what other people are saying or what the fans are doing. I also think being able to just win on the road is a great sign for the playoff success, because you're going to end up not having home court advantage, especially when they're going to probably finish as the 3rd seed this year, and showing that they can go out and win on the road no matter who they're playing against is really important in my opinion. The next big indicator of why I'm so confident in this team come playoff time is they are the 3rd best clutch team in the entire league, and they probably have the clear favor for the clutch player of the year in De'Aaron Fox. And I think having a guy who can be a real closer and can get a bucket off on anyone when you need it is really valuable, especially come playoff time. You need that guy who can get you an easy bucket or just make a tough shot when you really need it at the end of a shot clock. And De'Aaron Fox has shown that he can do that all throughout the game, but especially in the clutch time, and he really steps up in those moments. As well, I think that once again just boosts the confidence of this team and really gives them the courage to play the game the way they want. Run, gun, make these teams outscore you. And if it comes down to a kind of a close game and you need to slow it down, you have De'Aaron Fox who can slow it down and take over the game for you. Another indicator, in my opinion, of a good potential playoff team is how well they perform against teams of a similar caliber, which I think the Kings have done pretty well out throughout the whole year. They're 20-18 against teams with a record of 500 and above, and they're 10-7 against top 6 seeds in the conference, in both conferences, which I think is pretty good. They do have a losing record of 4-8 against top 3 seeds, which in my opinion kind of shows their limit as probably only a second round team, but I think this also highlights that they're able to compete with teams of a similar caliber caliber, and they've been able to challenge and beat some of the top 3 seeds here and there throughout the whole year, which shows that they're not just beating up on bad teams and losing to good teams like last year's Bull. This is a team that actually kind of plays and competes in every single game that they've been in throughout the whole year, and they've been able to do that with their poor defense by outpacing and outscoring pretty much everyone all year. Like I said, I know the playoffs do slow down, but I think one, that's a little bit overrated, and two, I still think the Kings are going to be able to play with their pace in the postseason, because this is a team that, like, off a make, off a miss, off a set play, off of anything, they're looking to run and gun right away and get into their sets very quickly with all their shooters around Fox and Sabonis and get quick offense. So I don't think just because it comes playoff time, their offense is going to take a drastic hit like some people might think. I do think there is kind of one thing that the Kings have had in their favor all year, which is how incredibly healthy they've been. Out of their top 7 guys, I think they've only missed like 8-9 games total, or like all throughout them, which is amazing. And like a lot of teams haven't had that luck. But at the same time, like every year in the regular season and playoffs, people get hurt. It's part of the game. Like every single season, people get hurt, and every single season we say, oh, well, if this team was healthier, they would be a higher seed, or if this team, And that's just how it kind of happens. And a lot of these teams are kind of going into the postseason still hurt. A lot of these teams are going into the postseason with brand new big pieces added, like the Suns, like the Clippers with Westbrook, like the Mavericks, like the Wolves still figuring out Cat and Rudy situation. So like having a healthy team all year, I think, yes, is lucky, but at the same time is something that should be kind of put in their favor. Like they've been able to build chemistry throughout the whole year. They've been able to figure out and understand what other people like, what they want to do, and how they can do it as a team. And that is a really big advantage over teams that have been either injured or adding new players kind of closer to the end of the season. And I don't think it's kind of fair to be like, oh, well, the Kings have just been super lucky because they've been healthy. Yeah, sure, but like it is a big part of the game. Availability is a big part of the game, and the entire Kings roster has been available, which has helped them build chemistry, which I think is a very big advantageous thing for especially a young team come playoff time. And I think due to that, as well as a lot of the other things I talked about, I can honestly see why they would be able to beat the Clippers or the Warriors, who've been injured and are adding new pieces and have been struggling with chemistry things, because this team's firing on all cylinders and those teams are not. And this is the type of team that you need to be firing on all cylinders to beat, in my opinion. I'm not saying the Kings are going to make the Western Conference Finals or are like contenders this year, but I think all year we've written this team off as a good regular season team that's a really great feel-good story, but they're going to fail come playoff time. And I think they've proven over 74 games that they are a real threat in the playoffs. And to me, it is really hard to imagine a world where the Kings beat a Warriors core of Curry, Green, and Clay, or a healthy Clippers team with Kawhi and PG, or whoever they end up facing in the first round. But at what point do we like stop making excuses for these more established teams? The Warriors have been unable to win on the road all year. The Clippers, while they've had good spots here and there, keep kind of adding guys, and more guys are healthy or hurt, and they've never been able to build true chemistry. You know, like at what point do we stop saying they're just underperforming and teams like the Kings or the Nuggets or the Grizzlies are just simply better than them, and they've been able to be better than them for the entire year? I think a lot of people are going to say the Kings are bound for a quick first round exit because they're going to match up against the defending champion Warriors or the Clippers, and they have big stars and they're these established teams. And it very well might be true. They might get bounced in the first round, and honestly, I still think that this season's a win for them. But I also think it's a really real possibility that the Kings beat one of these teams and really upset a lot of people's brackets come playoff times, and I'm really excited to see that, and I hope that happens. But yeah, that's all of it, everything for the video. Thank you for your time today. Like and subscribe, and take it easy.